Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to do some learning about our presidents and also the White House. Before we start, I want you to pause and get yourself a buddy. Okay, our learning goal is I can identify the main topic of a text and retell key details. I can identify similarities and differences and make connections. I can recognize symbols and individuals that represent America. And I can identify celebrations and national holidays as a way of remembering heroism and achievements of people. So first we're going to read about President George Washington. Early years. George Washington was the first president of the United States. People call him the father of our country. George Washington was born in Virginia on February 22, 1732. He had 9 brothers and sisters. George was a brave commander and fought in wars to protect our country. He was married to Martha Washington and had no children of his own. Our first president. George Washington became our first president in 1789. He actually won all of the votes. He is the only president to do that. George Washington did not live in Washington, D.C. There was also no White House when he was president. He did decide on the location for the White House and made plans for the White House to be built. George Washington was our president for 8 years. George Washington has appeared on the Quarter since 1932. Can you pause this for a minute and tell your partner, what is the main topic of this text? Did you say George Washington? You're correct. Now, can you pause again because we need to identify some key details we learned. Tell your partner 1 or 2 things that you learned, and then have your partner tell you 1 or 2 things that they learned. Okay, so here are some things that I learned. I learned that George Washington was the first president of the United States, that George was a brave commander and fought in wars to protect our country, so he was in the military. He was married to Martha Washington, that he was our first president in 1789. There was no White House when he was president, and he has appeared on the Quarter since 1932. Those are some key details I learned about our main topic, George Washington. Now let's look at President Donald Trump. The early years. Donald Trump is our 45th president. Donald Trump was born on June 14, 1946. He is a wealthy businessman from New York. Before becoming president, Donald made his fortune in real estate, building apartments, hotels, and golf courses. He also had a television show called The Apprentice. He went to college and earned a degree from the University of Pennsylvania. He is married to Melania Trump and has 5 children. Our 45th president. Donald Trump became our 45th president in 2017. Donald Trump was the first president to be elected that did not have any military experience before becoming president. Donald Trump lives in Washington, D.C. with his family in the White House. Can you pause again and tell me the main topic of this text? Did you guys say it was Donald Trump? You're right. This whole text was about President Donald Trump. Can you pause again and tell your partner 2 key details you learned about President Trump, and then have your partner tell you 2 key details as well. So 1 key detail I learned is that Donald Trump is our 45th president, that he went to college, he's married to Melania Trump, and that Donald Trump was the first president to be elected that did not have any experience in the military before becoming president. I also learned that he lives in Washington, D.C. in the White House. So another learning goal was that we could compare what's similar and different. Well, this is a Venn diagram. In the middle, you're going to put what's similar. See how the circles are connected? They overlap. On the outside, you're going to tell me how they are different. So go ahead and pause this for a minute, and I want you to talk to your partner about some of the things that were the same and some of the things that were different about Donald Trump and George Washington. Well, the first thing I remember from my key details was that Donald Trump was the 45th president, which is different from George Washington, who was the first. But something that was the same They are both presidents of the United States. Donald Trump lives in the White House. George Washington never lived in the White House. Donald Trump was never in the military. George Washington was a brave military man. George Washington is on the quarter, and Donald Trump went to college. Those are two things that are different. One more thing that was similar that I remember from the text was that they were both married. So this is the White House, the original White House. Did you know that the White House was not originally white? It was gray. Also, the White House that was built in 1800, but it was burnt down in 1814. So this White House was burnt down. The White House didn't have any electricity until 1891. Can you imagine? And the White House wasn't always called the White House. It was called many names. The President's Palace, the President's House, the Executive Mansion. It was officially named the White House in 1901. Here's the White House after it was rebuilt. This is what it looks like today. But it's the same building since it was rebuilt in the 1800s after the fire. Did you know the White House was rebuilt after the fire in 1814? And like I just said, this is the same one from after it was rebuilt. It does get updated. And these are the north and south sides of the White House. Today, the White House does have electricity. And today, the White House is also painted white. And every president has lived here since it's been built, which is why the White House is a symbol of American presidents. So I can make connections. So how are they connected? President Trump and President George Washington. So go ahead and tell your partner, what do you think? Did you say that George Washington and Donald Trump are connected because they were both presidents? Great job. Go ahead and pause one more time. Can you and your partner discuss how George Washington and Donald Trump are both connected to the White House? Did you say that they are both connected to the White House because the White House is a symbol for the American presidency and that they're both presidents? Oh my gosh, you guys are so smart. One more fun fact, celebrating our presidents. Did you know that after George Washington died in 1799, February 22nd, George Washington's birthday, became a yearly day of remembrance to honor the life of an important person in America? It became a national holiday in 1879, and it was the first holiday to celebrate the life of an individual American. In the 1960s, Washington's holiday was changed to President's Day and is now celebrated on the third Monday in February each year. And remember, we celebrate our presidents because they show bravery and they protect our country. So our learning goal today was I can identify the main topic of a text and retell key details. You guys did that with your articles on Donald Trump and George Washington. Also, I can identify similarities and differences and make connections. We did that too with George Washington and Donald Trump, and also with the White House. I can recognize symbols of and individuals that represent America. Well, our first president and our current president represent America, as well as the White House. And I can identify celebrations and national holidays as a way of remembering heroism and achievements of people. That's why we celebrate President's Day. You guys did a great job today. Go ahead and continue your learning. Give your partner a high five for all your great learning.